Welcome back to the Tracy Take. I'm Tyler here with my brother Ryan, and today we are doing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers final mock draft of the 2024 off season. It's a full 7-round mock draft, and we're going to break down all their selections. But before we do that, the NBA and NHL playoffs are right around the corner. And if you like to put a couple bucks down on the games that you're watching, click the link down below. BetUS is having a fun promotion going on right now for all of its first-time players of 125% match for the first 3 deposits. So be sure to take full advantage of that promotion and by clicking that link down below and depositing a couple of deposits in there and get that 125% match. While you're at it, be sure to like this video and also subscribe to the Tracy Take to get notified whenever we create new content. We're about 3,000 subscribers away. We're a couple cocksucker. That was pretty good.
Yeah.
I fucked it all up. Welcome back to the Tracy Take. I am Tyler here with my brother Ryan, and today we are doing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers final mock draft of the 2024 offseason. It's a full 7-round mock draft. We're going to go through all the selections, but before we do that, the NBA and NHL playoffs are right around the corner. And if you'd like to put a couple bucks down on the game that you're watching, click the link down below. BetUS is having a fun promotion going on right now for all first-time players of 125% match for the first 3 deposits. And you're going to take full advantage of that deal. So click the link down below and put your first deposit in. While you're at it, be sure to like this video and also subscribe to the Tracy Take to get notified whenever we create new content. We're only a couple hundred away from getting to 3,000 subscribers, and we're trying to get there by the NFL draft, which is just a few weeks away. So any help is greatly appreciated. And Ryan, let's pull this up here. So the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they came in with, I think, the second most amount of cap space, or up there, top 5 most amount of cap space. They re-signed Baker Mayfield. They re-signed Mike Evans. They also added some key guys to the offensive line as well, such as Ben Bredesen and Sua Opeta from the New York Giants and Philadelphia Eagles. So one of the things that we thought as well is I think they still need to keep addressing that interior and potentially even getting guys that could be versatile, could potentially kick into center or help out with the guard positions at minimum. JPJ was off the board. Zach Frazier was still on the board, but he actually ended up falling, I think, to 39 to the Carolina Panthers. So maybe they could take him here. We ended up going with Graham Barton, just adding some overall good offensive line, especially on the interior offensive line depth. He was a tackle at Duke, but he's projected to kick into guard as well. Maybe he could go in and play center, or if some of the other guys play center as well, then he could play right or left guard. But in general, I think with the Buccaneers, I really think they can go in any direction here. I mean, we have Tyler Newman going safety here. Potentially also could go Jatavian Sanders. Maybe they get a corner as well and replace Carlton Davis and some of the other guys that have moved on. So it's really a lot of potential options. What do you think of this pick, and what are some other directions you think the Buccaneers could go?
Yeah, I really like this pick. He projects to be a center at the next level. So I think he played all 5 positions at one point or another, and then just happened to play at tackle last year for Duke. He did end up, unfortunately, getting hurt and only played in like 4 games for Duke last year. So this is a little bit more of a projection pick, but the athleticism and all the traits you want in a top-tier offensive lineman are there for him. And I think that this is a really solid pick here to potentially replace Ryan Jansen.
Yeah.
Could also, they traded away Carlton Davis and also lost Sean Murphy-Bunting in free agency. So I could definitely see them potentially going with a corner if one falls this far. I believe at this point, Cooper DeJean was the last of like the top 5 taken. So I could also see them maybe going that route there as well.
Okay. Yeah. That's why I think secondary could be a potential option. And so that's something we'll get to here potentially in a little bit. So let's move on to their second round pick. They're picking at 57 overall here. And one of the things that's really annoying for a team like Tampa Bay to kind of project is they're just good in a lot of spots as well. So when it came up here, the second round pick, there was a lot of other different options that we felt that they could go, potentially even go receiver and start getting younger there. We ended up going with Jeremiah Trotter. They did end up losing Devin White in free agency, and so replacing some of that linebacking position as well. And another thing too, Adesha Isaac was still on the board, yes, but he was that last edge rusher, maybe Marshawn Nealon potentially, but he's at 295. He's kind of a tweener, potentially like a tackle could go up next to Vita Vea. There's not too many of those now modern day edge rushers that are available at this point in the draft. Jonah Ellis, I think, might be that last one, so to say, who was taking a couple picks before. So when they're looking at edge rushers, if they want to try to improve the defensive line in that area, probably gonna have to wait until day 3 or maybe like late round 3 as well. They have a couple of late round 3 picks here. So we end up going with a linebacker, Jeremiah Trotter, who's one of the top linebackers in the class here. So I think it's a good pick. I think he's a great prospect overall for this defense.
Yeah, and I think you look, Devin White is either getting older or no longer with the team.
He's no longer with the team.
He's no longer with the team. Shaq Barrett is also no longer with the team. And so I think going and getting some young faces in that linebacker room is going to be really important here. There's 3 guys at the top of this class that I think could be taken pretty early on day 2. That's Peyton Wilson, Edgerrin Cooper, and then Jeremiah Trotter as well. All 3 of those guys, I would say, are similar in skill set, where they're about 230-ish pounds, 235 pounds, very, very athletic guys. They can play downhill. They can play well in coverage. And so just grabbing one of those guys here at the back end of the second round, I think is really good value. So
yeah.
let's move on now to their 2 third-round picks, where Brandon Dorlus, he is a little bit of a tweener, but the edge rusher out of Oregon, a really, really solid interior pass rusher. He's just not going to give you a whole lot on like the first couple downs. He's not much of a run stuffer, but on those 3rd and longs or true passing situations, put him on the field next to Vita Vea. You can still have your outside linebacker, and you really get a solid pass rush there from all different levels of that defensive line. And then Cam Hart just had a really good post or pre-draft process, tested well athletically. He looked good at the Senior Bowl. And I really like his physicality and what he brings to the game. And so I think that's good value at 92 as well.
Yeah. I think this would be, I think the main areas is for Buccaneers just to improve the defense just overall as a whole, and that interior offensive line. I think that those are the kind of the 2 main visions that I have. And I know I've given myself, that was pretty generic on the first one, just improve the defense as a whole. So they address all 3 levels of the defense. And then they also get a good offensive lineman that's going to kick inside for those well within these first 4 picks. I wouldn't be surprised if they trade back from one of these picks, because one of the things, if we go to their day 3 picks, they're picking a 125 and then 100 picks later in round 6. So maybe they'll see if they can sneak in like a 5th rounder in there somewhere if someone's wanting to move up and go and get one of the last kind of top 100 receivers. There's on our board, there's about 20 to 22 receivers in the top 100. So, but we have them going here. Bucky Irving, get a good supporting cast member for Rashad White. Also potentially good 3rd down back as well. Then get a Brevin Spann for tight end, help get a little more tight end competition in the room. As of right now, Cade Otton is the number 1 tight end, who's good, but potentially some room for improvement. And then lastly, then addressing that safety position with Jalen Carlis. So or Carlisle, sorry. But in general, though, I think 7 picks here for the Bucs. I think they address a lot of good positions here. I think good broad areas here. I think they didn't get receiver, but they did get a pass catcher with Spann Ford. So, yeah. Ryan, what are your overall thoughts on the Buccaneers draft?
Yeah, I think you kind of said it through at some point in the video, but like they are good in a lot of areas, right? And so like that's kind of hard to predict. And so I think they really are just going to be best player available. They have a few holes that I think linebacker potentially, and then the interior of that offensive line is another spot. And so I do think that going and getting guys in the first couple picks to fill those roles is going to be important. But I could also see them going best player available, because I will say those are 2 spots that I feel like we see most often, like centers from the 4th or 5th round that come out of nowhere and then become starters. Linebackers are a similar thing as well, where you can kind of find linebackers now wherever, and they're kind of they're just kind of in the middle of the defense there. So they're not like usually one-on-one in coverage. They're not usually at the point of attack in the running game. So you can find guys at all points of the draft at those positions specifically. So it could be best player available. I like what we did here, but let's go ahead and wrap up this mock draft here. If you guys haven't already, please go ahead and like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below on what you thought of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 7-round mock draft. Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you do differently? And on that, we will see you guys next time.